So prior to this movie, I thought the worst trap that you could be caught in was a constant state of crippling depression. Spiral from the Book of Saw is directed by Darren Lynn Bousman and stars Chris Rock and Samuel Jackson. So basically this movie is sort of similar to the first Saw movie. If you've seen Saw, it basically takes place in this narrative where there's these crimes being committed, these people are being killed, and there's detectives that are trying to figure it out. Unlike the first Saw movie though, this doesn't have two men trapped in a room, and it doesn't have like this back and forth sort of multi-plot sort of thing. It's sort of more contained. Basically this detective is trying to find out who the killer is. One of his fellow colleagues, who's a police officer, was killed in a brutal trap. I'm not going to spoil any of the traps. Let's just say there was tongue. He basically figures out that this guy was a cop and he's on the hunt to track down the copycat Jigsaw killer. This movie doesn't use Billy the Puppet, and John Kramer or Jigsaw doesn't make a return, which might piss some Saw fans off. For me, I'm a big fan of the Saw movies, even 3D, which I fucking hate, but there are still some good parts of that movie. I'm a really big fan of the Saw movies. I even played the first game, which was pretty terrible, but wasn't too bad. So I did have some expectations going into this movie. I was like very skeptical of Chris Rock. I'd seen his stand-up performances, which, in my opinion, he's one of the best stand-up comedians of all time. Like, his stand-up sets are fucking brilliant.
And when we hide porno, we go all out. It ain't behind the refrigerator or under the bed. No, we become Batman when it's time to hide some porno. That's right. You hit the light switch, the whole bookshelf shift to the side. You go down 2 flights and stairs into your porno cellar.
He's up there with like Dave Chappelle and Robin Williams as like one of the funniest people that I've seen personally. So yeah, I was going into this movie sort of skeptical. I hadn't seen him really in any other movies except for like Madagascar, where he voiced Marty the zebra. But man, this movie actually surprised me. He was very good. There was some slight overacting at times, but for the majority of the role, he nailed it. And Samuel Jackson's also in the movie. Being Samuel Jackson always nails it. He nailed it in this movie as well. I don't know, he's one of those actors where even if he's in a really bad movie, he still gives a pretty good performance. He's like Nicolas Cage. Like, Nicolas Cage has been in some shit movies. Like, really, like, dog shit movies. But you gotta love the guy. Like, it's fucking Nicolas Cage. Like, what else can be said? This movie had really good cinematography. It was really good to see the fast cut editing come back from like the original Saw movie, but it wasn't as like spastic and all over the place as the original Saw, or to me it didn't feel like that. Mainly too because obviously the budget has been greatly increased for this movie. I don't know the actual figures, but it didn't feel as cheap as like the original Saw. So yeah, I like the quick cut editing that they had in the original movie, but sort of shot better in this movie, especially like with the traps, because that's usually when that sort of editing happens. It actually worked. Like, it actually was fitting for the particular traps. And the traps themselves in this movie, oh fuck, there are some ones that just made me absolutely cringe. They're even more simple than the original movie. Like, some of these traps are so simple, yet really fucking effective at just getting under your skin. There's one trap, and I won't spoil who's in this trap or like what the outcome is. But basically this person has hot wax dripping on them. If you're into some kinky wax play, that's got you sorted. And basically they have to get out of this trap by doing something. And that was probably the most cringeworthy trap I've seen in a while. Like, the only one that I can think that comes close out of the Saw franchise is the needle pit from Saw 2. That thing is just, oof. Yeah, that's the definition of cringe right there. I like in this movie too how there's a sort of orange hue. It reminded me a lot of Seven. Like Seven has this sort of brown orange hue throughout parts of the movie. It gave it character, like having some of the buildings, like the detective area with this like orange brownish hue. Like it, yeah, I liked it. It didn't feel as metallic as like the original Saw. Like the original Saw has like this metallic sort of blue greeny feel, and this movie isn't actually part of, like, it's not the next continuation after 3D. It's sort of its own spin-off sort of thing, but it does take place in the Saw universe. Like I said, there's no Billy the Puppet. You've got a pig puppet, which is like, it's trying to pay homage to the pig masks that they used in the original Saw series, which I thought was even more creepy than Billy the Puppet. I've never really found Billy creepy. He's actually pretty cute, I guess, and cool looking. But these pigs, man, they fucking freaked me out. Like, they just got under my skin. I like the twist in this movie. Obviously, every Saw movie has its own unique twist. I actually knew the twist before going into this movie. I knew who the killer was, which kind of did spoil it for me, but I didn't know what the motives were, and the motives were even more of a twist for me, because I was like, I know who this person is, but then I saw the motives and I was like, this actually makes a lot of sense. Like, I sympathize with this guy to a degree. Like, this person is a fucking horrible person for what they're doing, but like seeing where they're coming from, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I get it. The best villains are the ones where you can see where they're coming from, like Killmonger from Black Panther. You can see where they're coming from, and like, you start questioning. You're like, oh, are they actually, like, is what they're doing like actually, you know, helping to some degree? Like, you got to watch this movie to get it. Like, I'm not spoiling anything. Go into this movie with like no knowledge. That's the best way to experience this movie. Out of all the Saw movies, I would say that Spiral is probably my second or third favorite. The first is definitely my favorite, and then I can't decide either 2 or Spiral, because those two are pretty close for me. In terms of ratings, I think I'm going to switch things up, and I'm going to give this a B. I find it hard numbering things, so I'm going to go with the letter system from now on. It just makes it easier. And I know other YouTube critics have a letter system, but when I watch a movie, I'm like, oh, that's an A. Oh, that's a C. Like, a C is a pass for me, and if it exceeds my expectations, it's either a B or higher. If you're after a good detective movie, this is good. This is a good detective movie. It's not, I wouldn't say this is a horror movie. There's horrific elements that happen in this movie, but to me, it's not really a horror movie. It's more of a crime investigation movie. Yeah, it still feels like a Saw movie. And that was the real key thing for me. I was like, oh, I hope they don't change too much, but they changed enough where it still felt like a Saw movie. And that's what I was missing from Jigsaw. Jigsaw had it had Tobin Bell, and it had you know, the traps and that, but it didn't really feel like a Saw movie. It just felt off, and I can't really explain why. Like, some of the editing choices were changed too much, and it sort of felt off to me. But this felt like a return to formula, and it felt like this is where the franchise is going. And I hope they continue on making movies like this, shot like this, because this is a very well shot movie. And yeah, I want to see them make Saw 8 if they can. Follow on from 3D. I don't know if they have plans to do that, but it'd be good if they could. I don't know when this movie takes place. It's in the Saw universe, but they never really specify when. It's years after John Kramer or Jigsaw has died, so it's definitely in the future. I hope they continue this franchise. Big lover of Saw. If you've got nothing else to do, and you want to watch a good detective movie with lots of twists and turns and gory and kinky traps, this is the one for you. So yeah guys, hope you like the review, and if you want to see more reviews like this, click the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.